Hi, welcome. Welcome to our talk tonight on the Leo full moon. And the Leo full moon is on Monday, 3rd of August, in the UK at 22:58 p.m. So you may or may not be up to meditate at that time. But really, with the full moon, we have the 48 hours before the zenith of the full moon and the 48 hours after, when we really feel the influence. And that is our window of opportunity, if you like, to really embrace what a particular zodiac sign is bringing up for us individually and us collectively, due to the sort of vibration and the nature of that particular sign. So the full moon is a time when it is potent. The energy is potent. Many people feel and sense this. Many people feel quite disrupted around the full moon. Many people experience disruption in their sleep. They have profound dreams. They might sort of be feeling more sensitive. That's all normal, because the full moon does tend to dip into the unconscious especially and draw up that to the surface which needs to be made conscious, and it will have a particular flavor or particular type of thing dependent on which full moon it is. So I have to be honest with you, I'm really pleased we're finally in Leo. I'm not much of a fan of the energy of Cancer. I find it very heavy, and it's a very watery sign for me. The fear that it brings seems to damp a lot of the joy down, and I find I have to work quite hard to stay upbeat in Cancer. And yet as soon as we move into Leo, that fire energy just helps to burn off some of that water. There's a bit of steam, and because I'm a fire sign Aries, to me I'm much happier in the fire and the air energy than in that heavier watery energy. So we've just been in Cancer. So water, symbolic of the emotion, and Cancer also rules the mass consciousness, and it does invoke fear, both individually and collectively. And especially I think what we've seen in the world is that blindly following fear-based media through the protests, through opinions. People are really divided on all sorts of issues. I actually decided in Cancer to come off social media and to stay away from mass media because it's just too heavy, too much divided opinion. But Cancer does rule our survival instinct. So it's the protection and the preservation of form. So it's really key to people. And I think we are in a time now where individually, maybe we're feeling preservation of our way of life, of the form, materialistic way of life, and certainly that collective fear. People are very uncertain. So in Cancer, the lower expression was very much to do with the presentation of sort of untruths or half-truths or distorted or irrational ideas. And I think we've been seeing a lot of that in the media, and it's very hard to steer that Buddhist middle path and find the middle path between the extremes. The higher expression of Cancer, of course, is the intuitive, the Buddhic knowing, the access to higher information that we access through retreating and going within. So very much Leo is the father energy, it's the sun, it's a masculine doing action type of energy, whereas Cancer was more of a feminine, the moon, the reflective, the going inward, that nurturing mother sort of energy. So often you spend some reflective time in Cancer and then you emerge in Leo. Okay. The keynote, so in Cancer, from blindly following the masses, which many people, that's what they're pulled into. From Cancer, we've got to move into developing individual consciousness in Leo. Okay, and this is through the fire energy of the mind. So we develop our own view, we develop our own connection to our higher self and be prepared to stand in our own view and our own connection, and maybe stand apart from the crowd, maybe take a different stand. And in Leo, we're asked to do this. And then in Leo also rules courage and the lion heart. So the lion-hearted courage, and this is the courage to shine as individuals, to take a stand, to step up into all that we are. So it's very much about developing personal freedom from outside influences and control. And sometimes you might do this in, say, a family situation. It might be that your family or want you to sort of be pulled into some kind of belief or behavior, and it's just not right for you. And you have to take a stand and be who you are and be true to who you are, and that might cause some conflict and some pain, and but you have to do that, and often you have to sort of work with the isolation and the emotions that go with that, but you know in your mind, you know intuitively that that is what's right for you. Okay, so in Leo we become the king of ourself, the king of our own kingdom. We become self-aware. And the keynote in Leo is, I am that, and that am I. Okay, so we really come to understand, man, know thyself. We come to understand in Leo just who we are. And this understanding comes, yes, through the lower concrete mind, because the ray 5 passes through Leo, but it comes also through, there's a sensitivity that comes through the intuitive. So it's a combination of these different aspects of mind. Eventually, as we move from Leo into Aquarius, through the year, if you like, we must sublimate our own individual desires. So in Leo, we come to know, who am I and what do I desire? And that leads to individual aspiration. But then when we come up to Aquarius, that individual desire or aspiration is sublimated for the group aspiration. We shine for the group. We pour forth the waters for thirsty men. And so this is a natural progression that happens, especially as we have increasing contact with our soul through Leo. Now, the sun is symbolic of the soul. Okay, the sun, the fiery sun, the fiery mane of the lion in Leo. The sun is the source of life. The Leo rules the solar plexus, which in our physical, energetic body is the source of our inner sun and our vitality and our will, okay, our willpower. So Neptune rules both Cancer and Leo, but it brings out different expressions in these two signs. In Leo, it represents all of the emotional experiences we have had from all of our incarnations. And because of the power of those, this gives it great passion. Okay, if you think you're passionate about your emotional experiences from this lifetime, add another 700, and you're getting the idea of the kind of fire that Leo invokes or can invoke. So like I said before, first, this passion, this fiery energy is to fulfill our desires as individuals. And we spend many lifetimes working on that and coming to realize that. And that might be the person who does very well in the material world, because Leo is one of the most materialistic signs. There's a real attachment to the material world. And it might be that in Leo, a person really aspires, sort of desires to do and be successful in the material world. And eventually they come to realize that actually there's something missing. I'm seeking more fulfillment than this. I've got lots of money, I've got the house, I've got the car, and there's something missing. And this is the start of that, lifting that desire up into aspiration. And the aspiration comes especially when we align with the spiritual will and purpose and intention. So Leo is associated with the solar plexus chakra, with Manipura. The solar plexus is like the lion's kingdom. And once we rule over ourselves, we must lift this energy of the solar plexus up into the heart. And this is for the greater good. And this is where we find that lion-hearted courage. So the energies, the lower, more selfish, more attached, emotional desires in the solar plexus are lifted up into the higher aspirations of the heart. So a best way to describe this is an example. So in the solar plexus, love might be expressed as a conditional love. I will love you if you love me, or I will love you if you behave in a certain way. And a person develops and experiences love in all kinds of ways in lots of relationships, but it's a solar plexus attached love. Sometimes it's a very possessive love. As that person transmutes, or that fiery energy of Leo brings that love up into the heart, that love becomes unconditional. I'll love you anyway. And it becomes a less personal love and a more impersonal love, and eventually a divine love for all. And seeing the soul in another, seeing the sun, the sunshine, the soul, the Son of God, seeing the truth in another. And that takes courage. So Leo is the ruler of your kingdom. Leo tends to bring out leadership qualities. So that can be the selfish tyrant, or it can be the courageous leader with the good of all at heart, making a stand for what is good, true, and beautiful, which are three qualities that are soul-based. So the fears of the solar plexus must be lifted up, burned away, or transmuted in the fires of the heart, love, nature. And we do this through courage. And Leo is probably personified in many ways by the story of the Wizard of Oz, where the cowardly lion comes to realize by the end of the story that he has been courageous the whole way through. He just didn't know that's what he was doing. So this lion-hearted courage. So the solar plexus is described as the battlefield of the forces of materialism, so attachment to the world and looking for who am I, defining yourself, looking for fulfillment in the world, versus the forces of light, which are lifting us up into a connection with our higher self. Uranus is the hierarchical ruler of Leo, and Uranus tends to evoke great sensitivity. And this can be sensitivity to the effects of the environment and the world around us. Leo is especially sensitive to the effects of thought forms. So the mind, it can be a great sensitivity to the desires of the personality nature. Like I said, it's one of the most material signs. Or it can be lifted up into a great sensitivity to the intuition that comes from the soul. So in Leo, there is this possibility of this sensitivity, especially if that is developed through, say, a practice of meditation or any type of contemplation. And eventually there becomes in Leo a sensitivity to a higher plan, your part in a much greater plan, and working with much higher spiritual energies, and a connection to a spiritual aspiration that is for the good of all, and your particularly unique part that you are asked to play in that. So courage. So courage is a strange one, because to understand courage is not an absence of fear. Okay, the person who is courageous, the fear is still there. They are just doing what is good, right, or true anyway. They're doing what is asked of them, what is from their highest self for the highest good anyway. And you've probably noticed in this pandemic that, yes, it has brought out, mass fear and heavy, that heavy watery energy where we feel like we could drown in fear and uncertainty. But there have been wonderful acts of courage, selfless acts where people have really put themselves out for others, or they've taken a stand for what they believe is right and true, or they've spoken up, even if it's meant their careers on the line, or their livelihoods on the line, or certainly their reputation is on the line. Leo is a mental sign, so it's the fire of the mind, of inspiration, combined with that will energy. So it's this courageous heart combined with that will and acts of self-determination. So I would say an intuitive heart and a powerful mind that is inspired is very powerful. You know, it's the lion's roar. There's almost no more powerful combination of energies. This is why the lion is the king of the animals. So it's the courage to go beyond. It's the courage to explore deeper into consciousness. It's the courage to follow a road less traveled and live a life that might not be an ordinary life. It's an extraordinary life. To not just follow the mass and the crowds, but to walk your own path and stand tall and be courageous, and often requires decisions that are quite difficult. Especially if you're lifting up out of the desire nature. You might have a strong desire for an easy life. But in Leo, you're asked to have some courage and walk the one that's difficult, because that's what your soul is asking you to do. Some things that I have come across in terms of courage. If courage and the idea of courage resonates with you, there's a fantastic Netflix video of Brené Brown's Call to Courage. Very heartfelt example. She is both she's a researcher in things like vulnerability and courage, and has written several of her books, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, the courage to be open-hearted and to be vulnerable. And people often don't realize that when the heart is open, which is an act of courage, because in life, emotionally, when we open our heart, we potentially open ourselves up to being hurt. Okay, so it's much easier to put lots of walls around the heart to protect. But what we forget is when we close down the heart and protect, yes, we can't be hurt, but we can't give either. We can't truly step into all that we are and shine our light with a closed heart. Okay, so it takes courage to open the heart, and it makes us feel somewhat vulnerable, because we're emotionally vulnerable. The things that really matter to us are there and open for someone to hurt. And what she talks about very much is we come to realize that this vulnerability, this very humanness, this essence is our strength. And the way that we connect with others, the way that we inspire and lift others, is through opening that heart center. And as soon as we open that heart center, we've got energies coming up from lower chakras up into the throat, where we can have truthful expression. We can have creative expression. We can bring through ideas that are new and bring them into thought forms and eventually into being. So this all doesn't work if we've got a big block and it's all closed down here. Okay, so really the courage, if you've been knocked back, the courage is to rise up again, to open that heart again, to have the courage to dare greatly, to be who you are. And in Leo, you're asked to have the courage to be who you are, no matter who judges, criticism, what cost. Okay, because that connection to your sun, your soul, your higher self becomes more important than anything in the material world, any criticism, any judgment, anything in that those emotional waters that's pulling you down, pulling you under. If you want more inspiration on courage, Maya Angelou, her poem, And Still I Rise, any of her poetry. Her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, just YouTube her. I want to share a quote that's been attributed to Nelson Mandela in his inaugural speech, but in actual fact, it doesn't come originally from him. It comes from Marianne Williamson, who wrote a book, Return to Love, which was the essence of A Course in Miracles. If you read or work with A Course in Miracles, it takes years. I've been working with Course in Miracles for years, and every day it reveals more to me. It's essentially the deeper essences of Christian teachings. And she wrote the book, A Return to Love, to try and bring some quite difficult teachings to a level where they were available to everybody and people could understand. And this quote about courage, and this quote is the essence of Leo. So our deepest fear is not that we are weak. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And this is part of what we are asked to step up to in Leo. So in Leo, we need to be the hero. First of all, our own hero, and then we can be hero for others. Leo, there's a heart and soul alignment that develops, that intuitive ability to contact the soul. And we bring in, there's an energy of both love and freedom. Freedom comes as a strong force in Leo. The freedom to set sail, to set your own sail. The other thing I want to just mention that's going on at the moment, and I took this from the astrologer, esoteric astrologer Philip Lindsay's work, one of his posts I was reading last week. And there's something going on at the moment that's making this, that's going to make this Leo energy even more potent. And I think it's worthwhile knowing. And that's that we've got a transit of Mars in Aries. Now, usually Mars would just pass through Aries and stay in there for 2 months. But what happens is it went retrograde. So Mars, that is the ruler, its own sign of Aries, is staying in Aries for an unprecedented period of 6 months. So from the end of June until the beginning of January next year. Now, this tends to make things a bit tough. Okay, Mars is never an easy energy to be dealing with, but in the individual, it will bring out anything in you that has not been made sacred. So this is all the stuff in the solar plexus that needs shifting up, the darkest, deepest stuff in your unconscious that needs to come up into the conscious light of day and be faced, accepted, dealt with, forgiven, whatever is required. So raised up to higher vibrations and transmuted. So Mars is the co-ruler of the solar plexus. So it tends to be associated with human desires, emotions, sexuality, aggression, and a drive for action in the world. It's the ruler of Scorpio. And in Aries, it will tend to bring up really fiery anger, rage, reactivity, forcefulness, competitiveness. And this can have a mass effect, especially if there's great struggles going on in the world, which we are in great struggles now. The pandemic that we are in are really polarizing people on many viewpoints as to how it should be managed, as to the balance between what it's doing economically and what it's doing socially, about things like vaccines, about whether we need to wear masks. There's lots of polarization going on, lots of potential conflict. But these struggles can lead to great revelations. in its higher aspect, it can lead to the liberation from the personality's attachment to the form. But we do, Philip was saying, this anger, we may see a mass boiling over in response to the perceived repression by governments in response to this pandemic. And he was saying this is especially when Mars is square to Saturn around August 24th and September 29th. So these dates are coming up. And this is because Saturn is a sacred planet that rules the throat, the seat of ideas, and especially truthful expression and the ability of your mental body or mind to take control over the lower reactive emotions. So this is potentially, he's suggesting potentially a turning point for us coming up. And Ted mentioned this in one of his earlier talks. He said there's some transits going on around September that could be very difficult, but collectively could present a turning point, negatively, positively. So not just individually, but collectively. So it's suggested that we can choose to blindly follow, sort of the analogy is like sheep, or we can climb the mountain of individuality in Leo, developing critical, independent, and discriminatory thought. So discrimination in Leo is exceedingly important. And have the courage to take a stand and become like the goat who climbs the mountaintop of initiation and spiritual growth. So this is the kind of energy that is, when you place that on top of Leo, you've got a lot of really powerful energy going on. We've also got a comet, which I've been trying the last few nights to see in the sky unsuccessfully. There's a brand new comet, Neowise, new wisdom, okay? This comet we haven't seen for 6,800 years, and we won't see for another 6,800 years, so in many lifetimes. And it's coming, when comets, esoterically, comets is seen as bringing highly advanced spiritual energies closer to the earth at that time. And there's lots of people, you know, intimating what this comet could mean, what sort of energies is it coming from. It's pointing toward the north, the Great Bear set constellations. But the ancients have written that comets indicate a period of great increase in spiritual energies, and often in response to our heightened spiritual energies, we get help, okay, from higher sources. So this is a rare and auspicious event. This is a white comet, and they are very significant. They're much rarer than others. And this Neowise is named after a space. It said it relates to technology, which is Aquarian, a suggestion of a dawning of new wisdom in our world. So combine the comet with this transit of Mars and Aries, with these dates coming up in the autumn, with this Leo energy, and we've just been through the mass fear of Cancer. We've got a lot going on and a lot of really positive opportunities for major change and transformation, not just individually, but collectively. And I think if we can just sail our own ship, we can hold that rudder and we can keep that connection to our higher self and our intuitive soul, we can navigate these waters, and we can be that light that shines to help others navigate those waters. And that's really what those who are more in touch with their soul are being asked to do at the moment. Don't be pulled into the mass fear. Don't be pulled into the mass conflicts and arguments. Hold that space, that higher space. So in summary, the fiery energy of Leo will bring much needed respite from the overwhelming watery fear energy of Cancer. We will have the support to invoke our will, our courage, and step into our lion heart and be the king of our own kingdom, make our own decisions, and act in accordance with our highest intuition as guided by our higher selves. This is paramount at the moment. It's almost a call This is a real call forth. We will have the mental capacity to discriminate fact from sensation, and maybe even turn off the mass media altogether to go inward and seek your guidance and counsel, if you choose to do so, if that's the active will you choose. The fire energy will burn away a lot of that water of Cancer that threatened to drown us in fear and negativity. We may be asked to give up our attachment to material possessions, to blindly following the mass thought, and expend effort. Remember, Leo is a sign of action, to go within and seek the truth and create a new kingdom and way of living, both individually and collectively, that aligns with our soul and with the divine plan. We must be prepared to let our light shine, like the lion's mane, to let it shine out, and allow the sensitivity of Leo to work to align us with our highest aspirations and sublimate our own individual desires and attachments for what we're being called to do for the good of all, for the divine plan and for the advancement of all. So lots to think about there. I love the sign of Leo. I don't have a lot of Leo in my chart, but I really resonate with the lion, and especially that lion-hearted courage, which I do know I have had to call on many times. So I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. And one of the calls to action, if you like, is the participation in group meditation. Okay, that is definitely in alignment with higher spiritual aspiration rather than personality desires. You know, you could have been off out in the sunshine rather than here joining with the group in meditation. And remember the power of coming together in a group. So I'm going to leave that there, and we can have some discussion. I'm sure some of you have got lots to add to that after the meditation. So what I'm going to do now is place on the screen the affirmation of love so that we can bring our energies together and align as a group soul. So get yourself comfortable. Let everything that I've just been talking about, let it go. Let it just sit. And bring yourself into this moment. So we're just going to repeat together the affirmation of love, which brings us together as a group. And it doesn't matter if you're watching the recording or you're here live, it still brings you into alignment with the group's intention and the group energy. So either repeating aloud or quietly to yourself, we'll repeat this affirmation. So in the center of all love, I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. So now I invite you to close your eyes and just connect with each other through your intention. I want to ground our energy to begin with. So I want you to imagine sending roots, sending energy down into the earth, either through the soles of your feet or through your base chakra, the base of your spine. Now I want you to allow your physical body to begin to relax. I want to bring you into this present moment. So just noticing your body sitting on the chair. Just notice the clothes on your skin. Now allow sounds to come in. Just notice. Now I want you to bring that awareness to your breath. Breathing gently through the nose or through the mouth. Just watching the breath come into your body, watching the breath as it leaves. Just feel your body beginning to relax. Imagine it is opening to this breath. So keep a gentle focus on the breath. Just allowing the thoughts in your mind to start to calm down. And keeping that focus on the breath, let it take you by the hand and lead you down into a place of deep inner peace. Simply focus on the breath. Anytime your mind wanders or is distracted, gently bring it back to the breath. Continue to focus on the breath, just allow any thoughts to simply pass through, and out of your mind, returning to the breath whenever you are distracted. Now I want you to bring your focus to the center of your chest. And imagine that you are breathing into your heart center. I want you to imagine that you are breathing in to that heart center and opening to that lion-hearted courage of Leo. So you can imagine a beautiful sunshine energy, a fiery energy just opening that heart. Or you might see an image of the sunrise and the beauty just bursts your heart open. Imagine now that your heart is filling with light and love, a love that is unconditional, divine. Now I want you to imagine that either white or violet, purple or gold light is pouring down from your higher self through the crown of your head and vivifying all of the major energy centers or chakras in your body. Imagine your heart as the vessel that receives and distributes this light throughout your body. So feel your whole physical body filling with this purifying, cleansing, healing, passionate, fiery light. Strengthening your immune system. Calming the emotions. Bringing this fire, this strength of mind. Now, as your physical body fills with light, let it flow out into the etheric energy body or the aura that surrounds your physical body. So that you are light. You are love. And it ignites the will to good. Now imagine these energies flowing out to fill your home and all who reside there, all living creatures. Now imagine this energy flowing out into your street, into your neighborhood, flowing out into your community. It's pouring down through your crown, captured by the heart, pouring out into your energy field and out. Right now, let it flow out into the town or city in which you live. See or feel this light. Connect with the light of all of the members of this group meditation. And let this light fill this country. Dissolving the fear, lifting those who are sensitive up into the fiery energy of the Leo heart. Now imagine this light fills this part of the world, this hemisphere. Now see or feel it fill our whole planet, encompassing the whole world and all who reside on this beautiful planet. See or feel the energy from our group joining with all groups who work in this way, so that we create a beautiful light surrounding our planet. See our planet as if from space, and see this beautiful light surrounding the aura around our planet, healing and restoring the balance in nature. Purifying our air, our waters, so our planet heals. See all the animal and plant life flourishing and mankind developing right relations with all of the lower kingdoms. Now see this light flowing into the hearts and minds of all men, consciously or unconsciously, invoking that lion-hearted courage, the sensitivity, the discrimination, lifting up out of the fears and doubts, bringing hope, peace, invoking the will to good, and developing right relations between all of mankind. Lifting our awareness and the collective consciousness so that we can live in peace and harmony with all. Visualize these energies unifying and eliminating all divisions within humanity, healing and transforming human consciousness, establishing right human relations. I'm going to ask you to hold this energy and continue to let it radiate out. Working with the group. Hold your heart and your mind open so that you may be a vessel for change. Now if you gently open your eyes, you'll see on your screen the words for the World Prayer or the Great Invocation. And we'll repeat these words together, pausing after each stanza just to imagine those words playing out. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Ooh. Ooh. Namaste. So now we come to the part of the evening where I invite you to contribute if you want to. You can unmute yourself and just let me know if you would like to make a comment, ask a question. I can attempt to answer it, or there might be people here who know the answers better than I do. Okay. But any thoughts or reflections on what's going on at the moment on the energy of Leo? Or maybe you're like me, you're just really pleased to be out of the Cancer energy and into something a bit more fiery. Does anyone want to contribute? You're all stunned. Oh, Finian, yes. So if I unmute you, go.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
We've got to be a little bit careful with terminology here, because it's something you alluded to, but I'm just going to make it slightly clearer. People like the Lucius Trust often talk about the full moon in Leo and such like things, referring to this season of the year. What they actually mean is the full moon when the sun is in Leo.
Yeah.
Which isn't quite the same thing.
Yeah.
Because the way it works is the sun goes round the 12 signs in a year. The moon goes round the 12 signs in a month. So it's moving a lot faster. And the way it goes is that when it gets to a full moon in any sign, the moon's always in the opposite one.
Mm. Mm.
And so therefore, the energy that the moon is feeding in when the sun is in Leo is actually the Aquarian energy, because that's the opposite sign.
Yeah.
But you see, what that does is it produces a wonderful vibration, because you've got the two, because there's a complement, those two signs are complementary, all the opposite signs are, but you've got this wonderful vibration. It happens every full moon, But this one's interesting because it's the Aquarius moon in feeding into the Leo sign. And if you think about it, Aquarius is the way forward, and it's about change and transformation. As you rightly say, and it's subtle and spiritual, as you rightly said, Leo is all this marvelous lion energy. But look at the combination of those two.
Yeah.
It's good, you know, but it could be troublesome because Aquarius can be a bit volcanic. You know, but then these things are meant to happen. What I mean by that is it's not easy peasy. The other one that's interesting is you mentioned Mars in Aries. In esoteric astrologers, if Ted was here, he'd confirm this for me. It's when a planet goes retrograde that it really gets turned on. And so the Mars energy is going to really mean something at the moment during the period it's retrograde.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is in the form of Kabbalistic astrology that I know, you've also got the decanic rulers of there's a planet ruling each 3 to each degree. But to get the planets, 7 planets to fit the 36 decans or groups of 10 degrees, one's got to double up. Otherwise it doesn't work. And the one that doubles up is Mars. And where it doubles up is the last decanate of Pisces and the first decanate of Aries. So it's a subtle natural ruler. And the thing there is, the purpose of it is that's the impetus that makes the difference between winter and spring.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a double dose of Mars energy. Now, if we've got that energy back in Mars again for the next 6 months or whatever it is, the answer to that is wow. Because it's as if we're going to get a new spring in spiritual terms.
Yeah. Yeah. If we,
I think coming days are interesting.
Yeah. 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 There is so much supportive energy there, but we've got to play our part.
Yeah.
You know, we have to respond to it.
But the thing is, if we know what the energies are doing, it gives us a heads up on what we need to do.
That's the thing. That's the key for me, to understand what's going on rather than sort of being pulled into the negative aspects. You know, yes, it is difficult. Yes, it will require courage. Yes, it will require will, and it will require action. But if you understand the bigger picture, you understand what's being asked of you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, excellent presentation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? No, they're all quiet tonight.
So, Teresa, if we're going into this period, what sort of should we be doing? Clearing of the chakras? You know, when we're doing our yoga, what sort of sequences should we be doing?
Okay. Sun salutation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, anything, I mean, most of the yoga that I teach you, Paula, helps to transmute the energies from the solar plexus to the heart. But especially sun salutation, and there's a powerful sequence where you open to the energy called the lion sun. I'll teach it to you next week. But anything that's really opening, working on the courageous heart. So the warriors that are really working on the strength and the courage, anything that opens the front of the body. So things like the camel posture, things like the dancer. So, and that's the case for anything. It doesn't have to be yoga that opens the front of the body. Anything that you step into your light, you let your light shine. So if you've been feeling a bit down, you're a bit contracted, you know, put on some music that lights you up, that opens you up. Do something that brings up the joy. Get out in the sunshine. Anything that that invigorates your prana, your subtle energy will help. And you'll probably find it a bit easier now that we're out of that Cancer energy, which the watery, heavier energy. But so you know, getting out in the sunshine, literally building that etheric, that prana in your etheric energy, so it's moving through, keeping those lower solar plexus fears and doubts, keep them coming up, keep them expressing, keep them moving, transmuting those. So does that help?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Anybody else? Yeah. Well, you've all got a lot to think about. Maybe go and have a nice, I would strongly suggest you get out in the sunshine. Remember the power of especially contemplation and meditation in that 48 hours coming up to the full moon. Aquarius is very much about group work. So if you start feeling those fears and doubts around isolation, around stepping into who you are, maybe not following the path most traveled, following the one least traveled, remember you are not alone. You are part of a group. You have a spiritual family that's not necessarily anything to do with your genetic family. Sometimes there's a conflict between the two, but remember that you are not alone in that. And sometimes around the full moon, there is a natural desire to retreat a bit and to spend more time in meditation. Maybe you get out in nature and you get out in the sunshine, that sort of thing. But there'll be an intuitive impulse that will guide you as to what's best. But do be aware, you know, things can come up personally that need burning off, need transmuting up to the heart. And sometimes you will be called to courage, called to act. Or it might be that some of the things that you haven't been courageous about, they come up for your awareness. And then you've got between the full moon and the new moon to kind of put them into action. To look at that. So I wish you well. What I'm going to talk about next week, following on this theme of keys to the intuition, next week I want to talk about how to actually use your own individual meditation to develop this strong link to your intuition. A little bit about how meditation develops the intuition and that connection to your Buddhic nature. And then the following week, Finian's going to talk to us about the Kabbalah as a key to the intuition. So we're sort of following along this theme, and we've got some real gems for you. So thank you very much. Go and have a lovely evening.